Hello, welcome to the channel. We're the Printy Brothers, and to join us today in the nice weather as we review Dragonbane. Alright, so Dragonbane is a D20 system.
It is a roll under system. So all of your skills have a number linked to them, and you've got to roll a d20, and you want to try to roll under any particular skill that you're rolling for.
We played an actual play of Dragonbane on this channel that you can watch now if you want to watch a cool actual play of Dragonbane.
That is a cooperative game. This game is mostly GM based, but there is a co-op/solo mode that is built into the starter set.
And we also played guided mode with a GM. That is what our current home game is, where you GM. So we have kind of both perspectives on that.
I like it. I think it's a good system. It is a little on the simpler side. Outside of combat, it's dead simple. It's just rolling for skills. There's not really anything else to it. Inside of combat, there's a little bit more of a tactical feel, but it's still extremely simple. It's about as tactical as you can get for being as simple as it is.
I think that makes it really good for players who are new to RPGs. If you've never played before, this is probably a really good one to start because it's easy to learn, simple, it's very quick, but also has the tactics. I don't think I'm necessarily the target audience because I've been playing RPGs for an extremely long time. So I personally like the tactics and complexity of building a character out.
You're saying it's too simple for you.
I'm saying I like a system to be a little beefier.
Okay.
That's just my personal preference. I'm not saying that's bad. I think it works for this type of game.
I think there is some choices to be made kind of with your character creation as well. Technically, this is a classless system. There are classes you can pick that give you your starter abilities, but the book also says you can not take a class and just pick whatever abilities you want.
Yeah.
So there is some tactics to be had throughout all of that. But I guess for a more veteran player who's played a lot of tactical games in the past, it is on the lighter side. It is a little bit simpler.
The simplicity also increases the pace of the entire game, though, which is a big plus.
Yeah,
I
the
would
game runs
say.
very quick.
Usually these types of games take a while. You have to okay, hold on, I'm going to roll that. Or what are all my bonuses to that? This is, boom, I rolled. I know exactly if I passed or failed.
There's no math or anything like that in this game.
No math, which is nice. A little refreshing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Especially it works really well in combat. The combat system is super fast. You'll go through way more rounds of this a lot faster than you would in any other system.
The initiative system is also a little different in this too. You have, instead of rolling, you have cards, 1 through 10, that are all dealt out to every player and monster.
Yeah, I really like the initiative system, and I like that it changes every single round and kind of changes things up, mixes up the tactics. You got to change your what you're doing each round.
Yeah. I also like how the monsters are designed. So you've got your normal kind of standard NPC enemies that you fight, and they work pretty much the same as player characters. But then you have monsters, which are like bigger threats to the party. In the base book, there's not that many monsters, but I know a bestiary came out recently that has even more. But they work a little bit differently than NPCs, where every turn they roll a d6, and then there's a little chart of different things they'll do based on what they rolled. So if you roll a 1, then they'll do some specific action. If you roll a 3, they'll do a different other action. So they can kind of run on their own. It works great for a co-op or a solo game because you kind of just have AI built into each monster, which is kind of cool. The other interesting thing about monsters is, number one, usually they get more than one initiative card, so they'll act multiple times in a round, which is kind of a nice way of balancing it. But they also automatically hit. They don't even roll a hit, they just automatically deal damage.
Yeah, I really like that. It ups the danger level of monsters. It feels like The Witcher. Like whenever he's fighting a monster,
Yeah.
It's more dangerous. He switches to the silver sword. You gotta fight him.
Now the game is, Dragonbane is pretty deadly, just as a system overall. Characters only have like 12 health, and they get that's what they get for the whole game. And most attacks deal like 2d6 or something like that. So one hit can take your character down if you're not careful.
Yeah.
So it really becomes a game of kind of like managing your hit points and also managing when you want to evade or dodge or block an attack. It's It's really a game of management of those types of things.
Okay, so I'm curious what your opinion is, since we have played in co-op versus a guided mode. Like, what are the differences? What do you like better in either version, and what do you dislike?
One thing I will say for our guided game, before Dragonbane, we were playing Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and we decided to move over to Dragonbane. We did that because the players we're playing with right now, I had got a sense that Pathfinder was a little too complex for them. So I wanted something with similar tactical combat because they liked that, but that was a lot simpler. So I think for our group game, Dragonbane was the right choice. Seems like I think everyone is really enjoying that system. They're getting it a little bit more. Everyone's
There's
utilizing.
not a lot of questions like, wait, how did I get that? How did I get that bonus? Wait, why did I miss that?
Yeah,
It's super easy to comprehend.
and people are not really forgetting their abilities as much because they have cards.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the game doesn't come with cards, but I made cards that have all the abilities on them.
Hey, we should talk about that because you can link that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I probably can link that. For all of the heroic abilities that you get, I made cards, kind of like Ironsworn, because Ironsworn has cards, and I really like that. So I made it for all of the cards for Dragonbane.
That you can print out and
yeah.
actually hold.
I also made some items, but we'll talk about that in a second. So yeah, I think Dragonbane was a good choice for our group.
Yeah.
I think it suffers a little bit in co-op and solo mode because the combat is so tactical. So I feel like every round you're kind of having to decide what the enemies are doing. It does come with some tables you can roll on for enemy AI, but I've struggled a little bit with kind of coming up with what each enemy would do in a tactical combat scenario.
Yeah, I think what makes a good GM-less system is how the game enforces following the fiction of the story and how it supports that. Dragonbane, like you said, is more of a tactical game. There aren't a lot of tools that help you come up with an interesting story.
Yeah,
there are
I mean,
few.
Once you get into combat, it basically becomes like a completely different game.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I also will say, I think this game, the combat at least, works a lot better with multiple people.
Yeah, I agree.
Like when there's just two people, it's just me and you back and forth. It's a lot better when you have a team of people that can work together and decide how they want to approach a battle and like do stuff like exchange cards with certain players.
Yeah, I can see
and
that.
do like combos.
I did enjoy our co-op game.
Me too.
I think the little campaign that it comes with was a little difficult for me to kind of wrap my mind around because it is a module basically, and you're going through these different missions, and for me it felt a little bit limiting
Yeah.
to my creative muscles.
Kind of like a linear journey.
Yeah, it felt more like a linear journey.
Almost felt like playing Gloomhaven.
Yeah, kind of felt like that because no matter what you do, there's always the next mission, which is kind of still the same.
Yeah.
It's difficult to kind of change the path of the story because you're playing through a module. So I guess for me, and that's less of a knock on Dragonbane as a system and more of I guess modules in general in co-op and solo. If I were to play again, I definitely would play without any kind of pre-written adventure. The other thing kind of about Dragonbane is it is on the rules light side of things. It's like a rules medium type game. The thing about those types of games is I feel like I either want one of two types of games when I'm playing. I either want a tactical, complex system, or I want a lighter system that focuses more in on like the story. So to me, it feels like it's kind of in the middle of those two things, and I like one of the more extreme sides a little bit more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with that. Unrelated to any of that.
Okay.
The actual book, I think, is really nicely laid out.
It is very nice.
One of the best laid out books I personally have ever seen.
Yeah.
It is super easy to follow the book and make a character.
Character creation is extremely simple as well.
There's no like chart, like go to page 42 to find out this.
You just scroll through it as you
Yeah.
make your character. You just literally scroll through or flip the pages.
It's one of the easier
Linearly.
character creations I've had, making a character for the first time in a system.
Yeah.
I'd also say about the book, I love the artwork as well.
The artwork is incredible. I really like it.
Yeah, we can show some of the artwork on screen. It's got a certain flavor, certain style to it that I really, really like.
I also wanted to talk a little bit about the items in the game. Because I think that's something this system is really lacking is good items. Like you have a healing potion, and that's pretty much it. Like most of the other stuff is like swords, armor, like basic adventuring equipment, but there's no magical items that at least I found in the base book. That being said, I did homebrew some magic items for my for our home game, and it was pretty easy to make them. Like it's pretty easy to hack the system.
And you made a frick ton of items,
Yeah.
and you want to leave a link for the people?
Yeah, it'll be right along with the heroic ability cards because my magic items are also cards. I made them the same size as Gloomhaven item cards.
I also say like the leveling up is interesting. I don't get a sense that I'm getting more powerful though.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like D&D or Pathfinder where it's like I get an additional level and I'm like, ooh,
What
I'm
ability do I
powerful
get now?
Like you get heroic abilities, which you know they're pretty cool, but I didn't get a sense that I could become really powerful.
Hmm.
Not that that's a bad thing. It's just something to consider.
Yeah, I think I've found running it that you kind of need to reward the party with heroic abilities every now and again, because otherwise they're not going to get them very often.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, you're just kind of leveling up your numbers a little bit, which I think it's fun to kind of roll every session
That
to
is fun.
increase your stats a little bit. But it does lack that kind of flair of getting a level up.
I like the questions at the end of every session. That's like, okay, did you participate in the session? Yes, you get a little skill point. And then did you follow your character flaw, which encourages strong role play and having flaws in your characters. And I like those kind of questions at the end of a session.
I agree. I even wish that those questions were a little more robust. I'd like to see some more substance to those.
I could see something like that being added into other systems.
It very much reminds me of like a Masks type thing, because that game also has an end of session kind of thing.
Yeah.
So overall, I do think this system is great for group play. I feel like for our home game, it really has kind of it gets out of the way, and you can just get to the game.
So how would you rate this one on a scale of 5 stars?
I think for a lot of groups, it'll be a 5-star system.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. Like it's a perfect. I think it's very good at what it does, but it doesn't. It's not the type of system that's necessarily geared towards some of my personal play styles. I would either want something a little more complex and tactical, or something that kind of takes out all of the tactical combat and relies fully on the story. So I would probably give it 4 stars.
Yeah, I would give it 3 stars.
Okay,
I think it's a 5-star for our group.
I agree.
Just me personally, I prefer something a little crunchier that I can sink my teeth into, or something that is more of a basis for a story. So that is a average of 3.5 stars that we are giving to Dragonbane.
Maybe a little harsh. It feels harsh because it's a good system. There's
It's a good
nothing wrong
system.
with it.
Yeah,
Like
I'm not saying it's like a piece of dung or anything.
it just doesn't necessarily fit our play style.
We have a Dragonbane actual play if you want to check that out. The characters are pretty fun. It was an interesting story.
I'll tell you this, I did not expect it to end the way that it did.
So check that out if you would like. We have a playlist for it linked below. If you're curious what we're working on next, we are doing a Sundered Isles actual play, which is like an add-on to Starforged, which Starforged is a improved version of Ironsworn, which we also have an actual play of. But Sundered Isles is like a pirate theme, and we're very excited to play that one, so stay subscribed for that.